Hello, and welcome to Ethics and Corporate Social Responsibility. I'm your Professor John Harvey, and it's been a little while since we've shot a video, so it's nice to get back to you guys and make this connection. So this week is week 12 out of the semester. So we're down to the last, 3 or 4 weeks of the semester, depending on how you look at it. So quite a bit of stuff coming up. So I wanted you guys aware of kind of where we're at in the schedule and what's coming up, so I want to make sure and cover that stuff. All right, so it looks like a ton of you guys submitted those corporate video papers. So great job, I've got those graded and back to you. If you haven't done that, make sure and get that in. You're past the deadline, so it's going to show as overdue and all that. But you don't want to walk away from those points. It's a big part of the semester. I mean, we kind of have our run rate stuff where you're going through the chapters and you're covering stuff, but these papers and stuff are kind of these big chunks of points, and so you don't want to miss those. So make sure and get that corporate video paper in if you haven't done it. And thank you for everybody else that has done that, so that's great. Just a reminder, you have an Ethics in Reality paper that's coming up. I think it's next week, I think it's next week. So make sure and look at the requirements for that. Make sure and budget your time. That's additional work that you need to do above your kind of regular stuff. So be thinking about that. Look at those requirements and make sure and get that in. Okay. Now's the time to talk about the group presentation. So we have, it's 3 weeks away from the deadline, so you guys should be well into this thing. Your group should have already talked. You should be talking about the purpose. You should be having the plan. You should be talking about the way you're going to deliver this thing and what that's going to look like. Let me give you the intent of this assignment. Okay, so there's 2 pieces to it. One is it is a group assignment, and I'm required and you're required to learn how to work in groups. And I know that's frustrating for you because you're in a group and there's always somebody that's like not doing their job. You're like, hey, will you make sure and do this thing? And then you don't hear from them, right? That is the reality of groups. That is the reality of life. You work with people and you depend on them and they don't show up and they don't deliver. And so you have to kind of learn how to adjust and deal with that. That is all part of the group presentation experience, okay? Or group assignments, right? So that's one piece to this thing. The second piece is I really want this to be an assignment where we're kind of flipping it. Rather than me teach, rather than the book teach, you actually get to teach. Okay, so you're going to take this topic, you're researching, evaluating, presenting, and then you're putting questions together, and everyone looks at that. Okay, and so this is your chance to kind of show what you know and what you've learned and what you've researched about this topic and about this item. Okay, so rather than me, always talking about different pieces of it, now it's you getting a chance to kind of share with the overall class, not just within your group, but the whole overall class is going to look at these. Okay, so those are the 2 kind of purposes of this assignment. So I want you to understand that, right? So make sure and look at that. Now I do set this up because it's kind of frustrating when you get somebody who doesn't show up, or they say they're going to do this thing and then they don't deliver or anything like that. So I do have this little handcuff set up in there. So when I get 2 responses to I've got this little quiz, and it's like, how did you guys do? What could you have done better? Did everybody participate? Was there somebody that didn't participate? Okay, so if I get 2 people in your group that say you didn't participate, you don't get any points for this assignment. You get nothing. Okay, and this assignment is worth 10% of your grade. So you may think you have an A, you don't help out on this thing, you're getting a B in the class. Okay, if you're sitting at a C, you're getting a D, right? I've actually had students that I had to fail because they didn't help their team. Okay, so it's important, and you have to participate, and you need to, otherwise you're going to lose a ton of points. Okay, so be aware that your peers are going to be grading you, and if I get your name twice from your peers in your group saying that you didn't participate, you're not getting any points. Okay, so that should be some motivation to you to make sure and jump in and respond to your team's emails and make sure that you're pulling your weight there. Okay, so that's my little handcuff to kind of help you in your group assignments. Make sure that everybody pulls together and works hard. Okay. All right, so that's the group presentation. Now, I wanted to warn you about the final test. So the final must be proctored, which means you can't have your cousin take it. You can't have a guy that you knew that took it last semester. None of that. It's got to be you. So the majority of you are going to go to BSU, and you're going to go to the grading center, the testing center, and take the test there. So there are times that are scheduled. You probably should work directly with the testing center and schedule a time for yourself, so you got a chair there, because that does fill up, and there's a lot of tests that happen through that center. So make sure and get yourself scheduled if you need to, and pick a time that's going to work for you and work for them. What always happens is I have students that are not in Boise. You could be on a trip, or maybe you're out of the country, or this is an online class, so it happens. You have to find a testing facility, and they have to contact me. You have to get it scheduled with them and say, I'm going to Boise State, here's my professor's email address, here's his contact information, and work through all that. And when that testing center contacts me, I'll make whatever arrangements I need to in order to allow them to help you with that test. So you're going to sit down at the test, and they know the password so that you can take your test. Okay, so you'll go in there, you'll open up a browser, you'll log into Blackboard, and then you're going to go hit the test, and you can't take the test unless you have the password. Well, that's what I'm going to give that testing center. So I need to know that it's you taking that test. And so this final test is proctored, and that can be a big pain for some of you that are not at Boise State. It can be a big pain for some of you that are at Boise State and don't know how to work through that. That's why I'm telling you now, you've got 3 or 4 weeks, get yourself scheduled, make sure it works, okay? So that's one part to this. The other is, this test is tough, okay? I cover everything in that textbook, I cover a ton of material, and the questions are hard, and they are a challenge, and so don't think this is just some little multiple choice that I can say, true to all these answers and pass this thing. It's a rough test. So you're gonna want to prepare for this thing. So make sure and get that in. Make sure and get yourself prepared for it. Make sure that you can go in and take that. Okay? So, all right, guys, I'm just trying to warn you guys ahead of time. Make sure and get that group presentation going. If you don't have that ethics and reality paper done, get ready for that, because it is due soon. And then, like I said, get yourself prepped for that test. So start thinking about testing or studying and preparing for that. All right, with that, guys, have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you next week.